Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Sorry it took a minute. Always check and difficulties. Who knows? Welcome. Great. It's already off to a wonderful start by not working.
What's not working?
The videos. Damn it. Y'all, I can't with this Twitch shit. Every week it's something else. Hold on. Jeez. We're gonna get this right one day.
Whose video isn't working? Is it mine?
Both of ours. I literally just checked this, and the chat isn't there? What happened? Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, wait. Jonah, are you showing up?
I'm not there.
Oh, there we go. Okay. There it all is. Wow. Yeah, welcome to streaming. Something always breaks. Andy, I would never blame you. Your presence here is awesome. I'm stoked to have everyone here. Okay. Welcome, everyone, to another IATSE Twitch stream. I'm gonna turn down this music. It's probably mad loud. But yeah, how is everyone? How y'all doing in the chat? Good? Wonderful? Great? Feeling empowered? And ready to organize at your workplace? Because we can help with that. We can help with a lot of things. But this week, we're here talking about FAQs, frequently asked questions about unionism, doing a little bit of myth busting. Andy and what's his butt, the walrus looking guy, are not here, but we do have my wonderful co-host, Jonah. Jonah, would you like to say hello and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. I'm Jonah. I'm currently just an independent game developer working on my own game. And I'm helping behind the scenes to sort of try to organize the games industry in whatever way I can. Because I believe in the power of unions, and I think we should be organizing. I think we should have a games union.
Hell yeah. Me too. What would be, like, the #1 thing for you, Jonah, that you would want to see for game workers? To get in a union contract. I should elaborate on that a little bit more. Like, everyone gets free cherry pie.
It's hard to say. I think, like, better, like, job security overall to me is a big one. But I think just, like, a better standardized wage for everyone, because I think people within the industry, not everyone, but most people are severely underpaid, and our labor is being exploited for the benefit of people who are vastly wealthier than us for absolutely no explicable reason other than privilege.
Yeah. Exploited for your passions. Yeah, you know, a lot of entertainment workers are folks that are passionate about what they do. And there's no reason to be exploited just because you love doing what you do. But yeah, we're talking about FAQs this week. So also, all y'all in the chat, if you do have a question, a burning question that you're like, man, I don't know this about unionism. I don't know this about unions. I don't know this about the IA. How does this work? Please feel free to ask it, and we will answer it live with a slight delay because the internet. But we will answer it live and do our best to get to your query. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat. But we've got a whole deck of them lined up here. This is actually part 2 of our FAQ series. Because the first time we did it, we ran out of time because there's so many questions. There's so many things that people just don't know because they don't teach you this stuff in school. And your boss is certainly not going to tell you. But we're here to educate. It's a learning experience. So let's dive in. So this first question we've got is, I like the idea of a union. Me too. But I've been in this business a long time and I have no complaints. What's it going to do for me? What do you think, Jonah?
Well, I think that for some people who seem to have a pretty, like, if it feels comfortable, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will stay that way forever for you, because, you know, company leadership can change, and without like a contract that sort of solidifies working conditions that, you know, you like or appreciate, something could change like very quickly within a year. Maybe the company gets sold off, maybe it changes leadership, maybe things just change for whatever reason. The company didn't make as much money this year as it did last year. You could lose a lot of the things that feel pretty good to you, like, pretty quickly, and or like the job just becomes worse and worse. I've heard stories from like former colleagues of mine who they worked at a company that was giving them like a free PS Vita one year, and then the next year they were just like laying people off and like canceling all the perks. There was nothing that could prevent them from doing that within the contracts. So not to like scare people, but without like a solid like contract, you're not guaranteed to keep what feels comfortable and safe.
Great answer, Jonah. Yeah, your boss isn't bound to do any of the stuff they're currently doing in perpetuity, which means forever. And they could change things at any time without your consent. So the things you really like about your company, let's get it in writing. Let's say, we really like the things that we currently have, and we want to make sure that it stays this way. And if it has to change, that it's not just an arbitrary rule without our consent, and it's something we discuss and negotiate over. And some people might feel like I have the individual power to negotiate for better for myself, so I don't need a union. But we're ultimately trying to lift everyone up together and improve conditions for all of us. We can get things like portable health care and a pension and specific retirement contributions if we so choose, but all subject to negotiations, of course. But, we have to drive that change together. And folks that feel comfortable should be a part of that. And if you're comfortable, that's great. Let's keep it that way. Because again, we're all, for the majority, at-will employees. And things could change at will.
I think one thing I want to add is that, even if you're, as the individual, if you're comfortable, we all sort of recognize that game development is a collaborative work. It's an industry where we work with other people. So it shouldn't necessarily be like, what's in it for me? You should consider like your fellow coworkers. If you see them as human beings, which you should, in this creative space where we're all contributing to the work together, you should consider like, are they being treated the same way? Are they being treated well? Do do they feel like they can put in like the best work that they can because like they're not worried about things at home? Like, does their wage cover what they need to do? Just food for thought. Think about maybe some of the other people around you at your workplace.
Mm-hmm. Great points, Jonah. Yeah, anybody in the chat feel comfortable? I mean, I hope you do. I really do. Because you deserve that, just like everybody does. Alright, another question we get very frequently is, a union would be great, but the game studios will never let it happen, right? Well, what do you think, Jonah?
I think we've seen some unionization efforts succeed recently, right? And it's not necessarily like studios letting it happen. It's that like there are laws that protect the right to organize, and as long as like the people who are organizing like push for it, we will see like unions form. It's not something that companies let happen. It's something they're forced into like acknowledging.
Totally.
By the people working.
Yeah. No one's gonna give it to us. Because if we could have just been handed it, it would have happened already, right? But we have to earn that through collective action, meaning us talking to our coworkers, forming that supermajority of support, and voting yes for a union. Studio executives have a really deep vested interest in keeping things at the status quo, keeping things where they're at, because they're making money off your back, and if they are making less money, they can arbitrarily change things so that they're making more money. But we feel that game studios will feel the pressure to recognize the demands of workers to be granted, and the rights and protections that tens of thousands of IA members receive as a part of our collective bargaining agreements. And we think that that should translate to game workers too. So, as much as I'd love to say we can all kick back, relax, and let the union wash over us, we got to do the work. So they're not going to let it happen. But we'll make it happen. And as we've seen recently with the AFL-CIO's agreement with Microsoft, sometimes you can get them to agree to be at least neutral, meaning that they've agreed to not push back if we decide to unionize, and they've agreed to, voluntarily recognize should we reach that point. But we still have to do the work. That doesn't mean that there's now a union at Microsoft. It means that now we can organize safely. Sophie Illustration says, I'm feeling comfortable because of IATSE 839. I don't lose my health care just because of a hiatus. Hell yeah, Sophie. I am an 839 member too. Glad to be an Animation Guild member. So yeah, they're not going to let it happen. They're not going to just roll over and play dead. But we'll make it happen. Great. And if y'all have questions in the chat, holler out. Another question that we frequently get is the employer required to bargain with us when we are recognized as a union or win an NLRB election? And NLRB also stands for National Labor Relations Board. What do you think, Jonah? Do you think they're required to do so?
I believe they are, because of things called laws that we established in this country and many other countries, I hope. But at least in the US, like, actual blood was lost over establishing these laws. So yes, I think they are required to bargain with people.
Yeah, so under the National Labor Relations Act, which is the law that protects us as laborers within this country, your employer is required to bargain in good faith. And bargaining in good faith means, number one, first and foremost, showing up to the negotiating table. They require that your boss provides the information that we've requested. So, like, once we form your union, the IA will ask for information from your boss, like any policies they have, any healthcare stuff, so that we can know what the current status of employment is, so that we can build on that to make it better, right? So we get that information and then meet with us at a convenient time and place. So they can't say, like, we are only available between 1 and 2 a.m. on Friday the 13th when it's a full moon. Like, that's not...
At the Denny's parking lot?
At the Denny's parking lot.
Yeah.
But it has to be a convenient time and place for all parties involved, so that we can exchange proposals and restrict the employer's ability to reduce or diminish any benefit or working condition during the bargaining process. So they can't take things away from us during negotiations, which is great. Once we've established the status quo, we can only go up from there. When they fail to bargain in good faith, that's when they're committing what's called an unfair labor practice, or a ULP, which is a violation of the National Labor Relations Act, and the IATSE would file that on your behalf, should that ever happen. But they are required by law to bargain in good faith, and they are required by law to show up to negotiate. What do you think about that, Jonah? I think I just froze.
You froze?
Do I look okay?
I'm not sure.
Am I moving, everyone? Great. I think it fixed itself.
Oh.
The computer's having a meltdown today. What's up, Mermaid Roadie? Glad to have you here. I am no longer frozen, thank you. I didn't want to be Elsa forever. Sorry. What do you think about that, Jonah? You think that sounds fair? Reasonable?
I mean, it sounds fair. What happens, I guess, if like the employer does commit an unfair labor practice?
So that's like a court proceeding with the National Labor Relations Board. And I'm not sure exactly what happens in the specific instance that they are not bargaining in good faith. I should probably know that information, but I'm going to admit that I don't know. And tell you I will follow up with you once I have that answer.
Gotcha.
If Ben's in the chat, he could text me and give me that answer. I don't know if he's watching tonight. I am human, and to err is human, right? Something like that. Anyway,
I'm certain that the court proceedings and the lawyer fees and everything makes it very uncomfortable for the employer in ways that go beyond just a simple fee, especially when it involves their laborers who make them that money.
Mm-hmm. I would assume that the minimum is a fine.
Yeah.
If it was jail time, that would be sick. Imagine. Executives breaking the law and going to jail. What a world. Yeah, if only, Mermaid Roadie. Maybe someday. In a distant future. So I'm going to skip the next question because I want to answer the following question after that before I go to that question. But the question is, what is IATSE? What is the IATSE? So what do you know about IATSE, Jonah?
It's the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an organization that like has a lot of unions in it. Like local unions and stuff. I think it includes the Animation Guild, which I'm familiar with, and a lot of other ones too. it's sort of entertainment focused. So
Mm-hmm.
there's theatrical stage in it, but it's not only theater and stage. It includes a lot of relevant entertainment people and workers.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Jonah. The IATSE is the entertainment union, and games are entertainment. And so much of what we currently represent has so much crossover into video games, like the Animation Guild, the Editors Guild, the Cinematographers Guild, the Directors Guild, and there's also lots of companies that work under AMPTP employers, which AMPTP stands for American Motion Picture and Television Producers. Those are the studio executives in Hollywood. But like Netflix, Amazon, Warner Brothers, they've all got video game studios, and they're also a part of those with which we already negotiate. So yeah, lots of entertainment workers under our blanket, and as I said before, games are entertainment, so would love to expand the game worker local in the IATSE to include more of y'all. So again, if you're in the chat and you're working at a place and you feel like you want to change things, you could type in any of our chat commands, like !organize, and get links to ways to reach out to us. Also, if any of you are going to GDC... Ooh, Ben's texting me. Sweet. He's giving me an answer to a question. Thanks, Ben. He's
Thanks,
like...
Ben.
He's like the third co-host. I so appreciate his support. When an employer is charged with or is found to have committed an unfair labor practice, one immediate remedy that becomes available is that workers have the right to strike without being permanently replaced. So that's a good thing.
Get owned.
Get owned.
Sorry.
I love that.
Zoomer
Thank you.
talk.
Yeah. So, he's still typing. I'm watching these three little dots. Appreciate that, Ben. But yes, Mermaid Roadie, we are going to the GEB, which is next week. So if you're going, please say hello. I'll be the lady with green hair. Ben will be contained in my phone. I'm just kidding. He's not. He'll be there. So this protects collective actions. These protected collective actions would be in addition to the NLRB hearing process. So there's a hearing process once a ULP is filed. But as Ben said so eloquently, an immediate remedy is that we could strike. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate you.
That will affect the employers, actually. We've seen strikes really light fires under certain people's butts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sweet, Mermaid Roadie. Excited to see you. Please say hello. All right. So yeah, what is the IA? We are the entertainment union. Game work is entertainment work. Let's collabo on forming your union. So the next question is why a union, and also why the IA? Why the IATSE? What is the union's agenda? That might be broad strokes, Jonah, but do you have a thought on that?
I think the goal is to create sort of the Animation Guild or the Writers Guilds of America, to create a more sort of a large scale game union that works for people who work in the games industry as a whole, not necessarily just at one company or another. But I think to start out, we need to have individual unions, right?
Yeah, so ultimately our strategy for unionizing workers in games, or unionizing ourselves, is a national game worker union, much like the Animation Guild, or the Writers Guild, where it is coast to coast, and all workers who work at games can be a part of it. And yeah, we do have to go about that employer by employer, Jonah, as you noted. That's just kind of how it shakes out in this country. Oh, Jonah's now frozen. I love this. Hold on. Jonah's just doing a really good mannequin challenge. Is that an ancient meme now? Let me try turning you off and on again, Jonah. Hold on. Y'all are like saints. So patient. Trying it again. Oh, Jonah. Oh no, now I'm frozen too. Oh God. We were going so good, y'all. I hope you can still hear me. I think you can.
Can you hear me?
If y'all can hear me. Yes. Thank you, T-Stains. Thank you, Fearless Sun. Thank you, Alina Staten. Oh, we're moving again.
Oh,
okay, great.
Again.
Wait, I'm moving. Jonah isn't? Why? All right.
Doing the thumbs up. Oh, I saw a flash. Maybe that fixed it.
I think I have like too much crap open or something. I'm gonna close some stuff. Of course, my my partner who works in IT is not here. All right. You know what? We're just gonna I'm gonna treat this like a podcast where I'm moving. Jonah's frozen. And maybe he'll start up again. So, Jonah, I just want you to know that the grab that's on screen of you right now is excellent. It's great.
Is it me doing the thumbs up?
No, sadly. I wish it was, but it's just as good. Okay? But hopefully you'll start moving again soon. I don't know what to do. Yeah, this
Darn.
someday I'm gonna get it. Someday I'm gonna get it. All right, so let's go back to the question at hand, which is why a union and why the IA, right? So game workers are the union. It's you and your coworkers coming together and saying, we want to be a union together. When all the game workers across your studio come together, speaking with a collective voice, instead of just as individuals, right? Game workers at that studio and their coworkers will select a bargaining committee to negotiate the contract, which will decide what the priorities are for our first union contract. And then you and your coworkers vote on the contract before it's implemented. So getting a union that is familiar with your issues as entertainment workers, familiar with the employers with which you are negotiating, all super important things to consider when choosing your union. And that's the great thing, is that you have a choice. There's many unions that could represent you, but picking the one that is best suited for you is a choice. And you know, we firmly believe here at the IATSC that the entertainment union is best suited to represent entertainment workers like game workers. So what do you think, Jonah?
Sounds good to me.
Great.
I don't know. Games are, you know, seen as entertainment, and a lot of game workers, there's a lot of disciplines that go into developing a game. Same as for film and animation. And I think it's about time we had some better representation and support from each other and, you know, other unions, or like becoming a union, I guess.
I agree. Okay. Question in the chat. The Living Arcade. Are there any studios that have signed on or identify as union studios as of yet? studios that we can openly support with our patronage as consumers. That is just awesome of you, Living Arcade. And yes, there are. Under the IATSC, we currently are representing a group of workers at a place in upstate New York called Working Man Interactive. They are a small mobile game studio. They make games for Disney, Nickelodeon, Noggin, Nick Jr., and a bunch of other clients. So if you see their games, definitely play them. You know, we continue to expand our organizing to other studios, but they are not official as of yet. So keep it secret, keep it safe. But hopefully soon we can have like the Union Bug on a game. That would be sick. I'd buy that. I'd buy that immediately. Yeah, as gamers, if we only buy Union Shop games, that would move the needle. Totally. I agree. I think right now we might need more saturation for that to be an option. So let's keep going. Let's keep organizing. Let's keep unionizing in games so that we can have that ability to buy union-made games. Jonah. I don't know what to do. Yeah, you've been frozen since you froze the first time. What if I, okay, I'm gonna do something drastic. I'm gonna change this to be this. Now there's two of me. Now you can see both sides of my office. Alright, hold on one second. Let me try this with Jonah now. I wonder if I just shouldn't use a like, does anybody else in the chat stream? Because if you do and you have a preferred method of streaming. What do you use, Living Arcade? Ah, there he's back. I fixed it. Do you use OBS? I'm just curious. OBS. Yeah, that's what I'm using. It's just, I don't know if it's OBS. I don't know if it's Twitch. I don't know if it's my computer. Maybe I'm just cursed. Yeah. Anyway, it's always something. You're back live, Jonah. You're good now.
I'm back?
Yes, you're back.
I'm going to stay as still as possible just to keep the vibe going.
Frozen but not frozen. Alright, so the next question is what about dues, which is the big thing, right? Like everybody has an idea about dues, and that might be positive, that might be negative. But what do you think about dues, Jonah? I feel like we've talked about it a few times.
The cost of dues is always offset by the increase in wages that you get as a unionized employee. Your dues will never cost more than the additional amount of money that you're going to make, and the additional amount of money that you're going to make from like increased wages and like better just working conditions, like it's going to be so much more superior, like so much higher than like before when you didn't pay any dues. So like dues are just like, I'm not saying that they're nothing, but you're not going to lose money. You're going to be making more money, like even with the dues included.
Yeah, so the part of dues is that you should be getting a value out of it, right? And that value could come in many different ways. It can come in an increase in wage. It could come in a better healthcare plan. It could come in for a retirement plan. It could come in for just like overall quality of life improvement. But that's what supermajority support of a union is all about, right? It's ensuring the fact that we will win at the negotiating table because we're a strong and unified front. So if our organizing is weak, our negotiations are weak, and ultimately what we get on the other side of it might not feel like a value to the folks who are now paying dues. So being very participatory in your union and getting really involved in the organizing and contract process will lead to bigger gains on the other side of it for you and your coworkers, and therefore a way better value for your dollar. But also, union dues they're manageable. They have to be, because people have to be able to pay them. And what dues go towards are the enforcement of the contract. So like your boss is not like, there's no governing body requiring them to like day by day sit down with the contract and like make sure that they're following it to the letter. That's what your union is there for. It's there to make sure that your contract is being enforced, that y'all are getting all of the things that you negotiated for. And also to make sure that any grievance you might have at work is covered. So your dues go all towards that. Because without that, we can't maintain the contract. We can't make sure that it's enforced. And therefore your boss just says, okay, cool. Thank you for this piece of paper. But yeah, you know, my dues for the Animation Guild are $90 per quarter because I am a New York-based resident. Or a New York area resident. I'm from the East Coast. For the West Coast folks, I believe it's $140 a quarter. But if you break it down monthly, it's reasonable. It's like 2 streaming services.
It's less than the cost of a random price surge from your ISP that they don't tell you about.
Hey.
I have to call Spectrum. I don't like this.
Yeah, it is quarterly. Thank you, Frog Potion. Mermaid Rhodey said, it also comes in representation on your job, for better or for worse. Increase in benefits, all this, yes. Dues are necessary. But yeah. A lot of our employers tell us that, like, dues are going to bankrupt you. Why would you trade what our relationship currently is to just pay dues? You know? Well, if you had listened to me over the past however long that I've been telling you I've got issues, then maybe we wouldn't have gotten to this point, but here we are. But again, dues are very manageable because we're not trying to bankrupt anybody, your boss or you. Alright, I think we got time for one more question. We're going to have an FAQ part 3. Which I don't think is a bad thing. And, you know, any of y'all in the chat, if you got a question that we didn't answer or anything, please contact us. Hit us up on gameworkers.org. You can reach out to us at rpg@iatse.net. Or follow us here. Come to our chats, our streams every week. We'll be here next week with a rerun because I will be in Nashville, Tennessee for the General Executive Board meeting. Yeah, hit us up. We'll answer your questions. Happy to have a conversation with y'all. And if you're interested in organizing at your studio, you can fill out our survey on our website. You can come check us out at GDC. We're going to be hosting a panel, and there will also be a reception event on Wednesday evening. TBD. But we're going to be doing a lot for GDC, so if you're coming to GDC, make sure you check us out. I need to get our booth number up here, but I will do that for next week. And yes, Mermaid Rhodey, I know it's really cold. I'm not stoked. I don't think a lot of people are. Oh, sweet, Fearless Sun. I'm stoked you'll be there. We will definitely see you there. Alright, one last question. And this is a tough one. So, what if they shut down the studio? What do you think, Jonah?
I don't know. Is that illegal? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it's a threat to your employment, which is illegal under the National Labor Relations Act. Um, so threatening to close the studio or lay people off or ship your job overseas in retaliation to us organizing is a violation of that law. Um, yeah.
Are there
So
any ways that companies can try to like get around that law by claiming the layoffs and stuff are unrelated?
yes and no, but ultimately, if we have a union, we can request that they prove it. Like we have to, like them telling us, oh well, now we have to go bankrupt. Okay, well prove it. Like show me your books. Let me know what's up. Because is that for real or is that just retaliatory? Retaliatory? Retaliation. How about that? Yeah. It you know, the one thing I will say is that organizing is not a zero risk activity. There is risk involved in it, you know. But as at-will employees, that risk is already present. Which is that your boss can fire you at any time for any reason.
From personal experience, I do remember my CEO at an old studio I worked at saying that they had $30 million in the bank to continue production on games. And then one day, suddenly, they had to close the studio because all that funding just immediately dried up. There were no protections for anyone.
Oh my god.
We were not unionized. We had no way to really protect us. And we had to, to get any amount of like, there was a lawsuit involved, but yeah.
I hope that for the future that stories like that become a thing of the past, Jonah.
Me too.
Fearless Sun says, big publisher comes in, buys out a studio, runs it into the ground for a few years, then liquidates it once they've wrung all the near-term profit out of it they could. It's a recurring problem, but I don't know how unions could fight it unless they could somehow force negotiation with the publisher. So, the one thing there, Fearless Sun, that I want to just touch on real quick before I gotta bounce, but is that in the event that we're at a union studio and, they have to close because, it's still a business. Things happen. Protecting you in the event that happens is what it's all about, right? So, like, fighting for things like severance pay, fighting for things like extended healthcare benefits, fighting for things like portable healthcare and portable retirement plans. All that stuff is what will ultimately help in the instance that has to happen. And so many people right now are just without that backup. A lot of people have been getting severance. I'm not going to say that nobody that's recently been laid off has been without a severance package, but getting it in writing so that it's not a question as to whether or not you will receive it. It's a known. It's something that's required, so that you could plan around it is what will ultimately help bring sanity to that process, should it ever have to happen, But that's a great point to bring up, Fearless Sun. On that note, also, the more union power grows in this country, the more unions can lobby for government to introduce new legislation, and strong unions become strong voting blocks. Totally. And Fearless Sun, lots of folks in the IATSE are contractors. I was a contractor for a long time in the animation industry. So I totally get it. Anyway, Jonah, it's been lovely having you.
Thanks for having me.
You are frozen again.
Am I?
Yeah. I don't know what's up with this, man. I don't know.
What do I look like?
You look like you, but you're like Jonah.
Man, it's always frozen on the most unflattering pose. Oh.
I'm sorry.
I've been trying to pose like the right way, but whatever. It's okay. I'm fine.
Yeah. I so appreciate you coming and talking with me while we go through this FAQ. We'll have to have an FAQ part 3 sometime in the future, but for now, thank you so much for being here, Jonah. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat. Fearless Sun, Mermaid Roadie, Frog Potion, as always, Living Arcade, and all the rest of you that were here, maybe didn't chat and just hung out and tuned in. Glad to have you. If you're interested in organizing at your studio, please hit us up. We can't do it without you. I'd love to come in and plant a flag, but that's not how it works. You got to do the work. So hit us up. And we will see you next week for a rerun. The following week also for a rerun, but the week after that, a stream. So keep your eyes tuned to this channel. And we'll be back in the future. Thanks. Oh, and yes, thanks Andy Rue for the safe trip wishes. Have a great week, y'all. And we'll see you next time.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, so you're not frozen now.
Oh, I'm
Wave
not
to the people. Wave to the people.
Goodbye.
See y'all.